Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is going to be sponsored by Cardsphere.com. Apparently I'm getting some thunder outside, so apologies if you get some of that on the mic later. Anyway, we'll take a look at Cardsphere later on in the video, probably after round 1. So, Ian sent me a donation asking me to find/build a Dice Factory deck list. With a little incentive, if I go a positive record, if I go 3-2 or better with this absolute pile of artifacts, I get a little something extra. So what's going on with the name? Because, Legacy dice names? Legacy deck names are a little problematic sometimes and hard to actually parse. This deck is built around putting dice on cards. Okay, so we're going to really be focused on charge counters. Coretapper allows you to put a charge counter on an artifact, or you can sacrifice Coretapper to put 2 charge counters on target artifact. Okay, why does this matter? Well, as it would so happen, there are a pair of mana rocks that use charge counters, okay? And let's use Everflowing Chalice as the example here, because it's the better one. So normally you pay 2 mana into this as many times as you want, and it will tap for 1 mana for each time that you did that. And this is a very popular mana rock in formats like EDH, where you can take a turn off to just really dump mana into this thing, and then start making big, crazy, dragon-based plays or whatever. Well, in Legacy, we don't have that time. So the idea here is you play an Everflowing Chalice for 0, actually, and then you have a Coretapper. You tap it, put a charge counter on that, you sack it, you put 2 charge counters on it, and all of a sudden you have kind of built your own Black Lotus. And if you just have a mana rock that taps for 2 or 3 as of turn 1 or 2 or whatever, you can start playing very big, very dumb things. So it was difficult putting together this deck list. Normally, when I go and try to build a deck list, I can go and, look through a whole bunch of 5.0 deck list dumps, look at the various deck list aggregating sites and just find a bunch of things. Well, this isn't really an established Legacy deck in the same way that something like Delver or Initiative or Sneak and Show is. So I kind of had to do some hunting. I found 2 individuals who had played this deck in the past year, and I found some content creator posts from like 2022 and 2021 where people were messing around with these. So I don't have a lot to go on here. I'm going to talk about some of the big deck building decisions that I had to do. Number 1, the deck needs some number of 4-drop finishers. And Karn, Scion of Urza and Lodestone Golem were the 2 biggest things that we're seeing play in these 4-drop slots. There's a decent amount of Delver around still. There's a good amount of Lightning Bolt in the format, so I wasn't super excited about Lodestone Golem. But if I'm not going to play a hateful card like that in the main deck, I do probably need something in the sideboard that's going to compensate. Number 2 here, there's no agreement on what the mana base is supposed to look like. The versions that I saw were running between 15 and 20 lands, and that's a really big difference. The 20 land version was running like Cloud Posts and Glimmer Posts and Vesuvas and such to go big in mana that way. The 15 land version was running a bunch of Crystal Veins, which can serve as additional Ancient Tombs, but they're kind of a one-shot thing, so they're worse against counterspells. I kind of decided to settle somewhere in the middle at 16 lands. And one of the other things that I cut from the deck, honestly, to just play another land, was Magistrate Scepter. This was a card that was really interesting, and I considered putting it in my Karn the Great Creator tutor board, but I kind of was finding space tight. This is Time Vault at home. This is build your own Time Vault. It's very slow most of the time, but again, if you have a Coretapper and you can instantly put 3 charge counters on something, like that is just a way that you can take an extra turn. And you do have the Voltaic keys and the Manifold keys that you can use to untap it to put multiple charge counters on it, but like have the mana to do that would be tough if you don't just have like some other way to win. So I cut it from the deck, right or wrong. I cut the fun of from the deck. I think we're gonna have a little bit of an uphill battle with this deck in the first place. And one of the reasons for that is going to be how good cards like Serenity, Meltdown, Collector Oof, Null Rod are all going to be against me. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind. As far as the sideboard goes, it's mostly cards to stop me from just losing to Reanimator, and then a bunch of tutor targets. I think with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the league here. If you're new and you like what you see, please consider subscribing for more, and there's a whole bunch of fun videos you can check out on the channel. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, I'm going to keep this hand. I asked my opponent if they're playing a spicy one today, and they responded they are. I adore our opponent here. They've built many of the decks that have been showcased on this channel, so I'm excited to see what they are going to bring to the battlefield here. My hand is, I think, a little bit clunky, but will probably do some cool things. I have a Surge Node and an Everflowing Chalice. I wish I had an Ancient Tomb. Really kind of make things pop off, but I think things are going to be okay. There are timelines where I can pop Crystal Vein on turn 1. Like Alice. Yeah, well. Let's see what's going on our opponent's end first, and then I can make any appropriate decisions. We're probably playing against a Prismatic Ending deck. Alright, sure. Okay, good luck. Good luck. Alright, Chalice of the Void is a fair name. Wrong Chalice. I would have named Chalice of the Void against me as well. I have a problem. Alright, so we're maybe playing against something in the Nick Fit ballpark over here. Do I want to just junk my land on turn 1? To just, like, Surge Node, activate, start doing Manifold Key nonsense immediately? I think so that I don't lose my stuff, I'm willing to do that. Alright. Sack this for 2 mana. I could actually just play Everflowing Chalice for 1 here. Multi-kicker it once. And then dump the Surge Node into play. There are a whopping 6 counters on this, so we can do some cool things. We'll kind of have a bridge turn, and then I'll start going towards Mystic. Oh no! That was their top deck. They just told me in chat. Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, Crystal Vein, how I miss you. All right. Everything's awful. I'm gonna need to like spike another land for Urza Saga. If I can do that, things can be okay. But I've only got like 14 lands left in my deck. Oh, what a nightmare. Okay. I don't even know if you need to therapy that to get rid of my Mystic Forges. Probably not a bad idea too. Okay, they are gonna do that. So, in case you're not super familiar with Voice of Resurgence, when it dies, you get a creature elemental token with power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. And if you're a blue mage, the front side of this will also make you sad, because you don't get to do things on your opponent's turn without giving them a creature token, which comes at just massive cost. Alright, I'm eating 2 damage a turn to that. I do gain 1 a turn to my Inventor's Fair. So, do I play out the Urza Saga now? If I play out the Urza Saga now and spike a land next turn, it's amazing. If I miss a land drop on both of my next 2 turns, I get no token out of the Urza Saga. I'm taking at least 4 damage a turn. 5 damage a turn is more likely. I think I'm going to go ahead and gamble and play this out now. This also lets me deploy another Grim Monolith and just make the theoretical tokens larger. I've gotta spike a land. I'm on 16. I've used 3 lands. All right, 13 in 50 chance. Hell yeah. Got lucky. I needed that. I needed that so badly. Now, my opponent can have Source of Plowshares, a perfectly reasonable card that they wouldn't have had an opportunity to cast this game yet. Alright, they're coming in, so that means removal. I will just walk into the removal. I don't think I have a lot of choice here. Yep, because I was going to remove it pretty much whenever I did it. Alright, take a little bit of damage, gain a little bit of life. I will go ahead and create another construct. And it doesn't matter too much what I get here, because I'm not expecting the oof to basically ever die. If it does, I guess I want the ability to find another land. I have a 6/6 defender. Not getting another construct out of this. So the game is banking on this 6/6 defender going all the way. Is pretty unlikely. Alright. So float a mana. Search for an artifact. And I don't think it matters a lot here. I'll pick up another key. I've got 2 mana. Cast a Coretapper. We'll cast a Mox Opal. I now have a 9/9. And we're rumbling. Please don't have removal. Okay, nice. We got a hit in for 9. I'm hoping to put my opponent in chump block mode. The thing is, my opponent has 4 cards in hand that they're not using, so they very likely have some big dumb stuff that they just need, like, mana to find. Or, sorry, to cast. So I'm going to take 4 here, go to 15. Yeah. Pretty good chump block. Is 4? 4. The only way I win is attacking with this. I even thought about putting a basic wastes into this deck. Send them. Gonna soak up the damage and unfortunately give my opponent 2 lands. You know what? I'm gonna take a look. No basics. So I guess my dream is drawing a Karn Scion of Urza. And I don't think I play City of Traders right now. Because I would like to play another land drop and then play City and then always have access to 4 mana, since the most expensive cards in my deck are 4 mana. It's also just way better to like play an Urza Saga and then a City than the other way around. Okay, we're just going straight to punchies. 4 damage is totally fine. I'm at 12. Oh god. Okay. Atraxa, Progenitus, what are we looking at here? Atraxa. Okay. We have found the spice. Oh, I'm so dead. That gets swords and prismatic ending. Or, yeah, or swords and green sun. Yeah. I can't ever answer this Atraxa unless I trade with it in combat. I'm comfortable conceding to my opponent there. That's a lot. So unfortunately, I'm not so much on ways to remove collector oof. One of the versions that I saw had spatial contortions, specifically to try to answer collector oof. My plan was just accept that I'm soft to it and try to mise wins off something like Karn or Urza Saga when it happens. I might board in Thought-Knot Seers to just help take natural orders and whatnot. And just decrease the number of artifacts in my deck slightly. How do I feel about Karn the Great Creator here? It wishes for Ensnaring Bridge. Kind of a big deal sometimes. It feels very slow here, and I'm not that great at actually protecting it. I think I'm going to let those go. I'm going to play another Walking Ballista just as a mana outlet, I think. So this is a bit of a weird one. I can just play a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, but I don't think this hand is actually going anywhere, and I just lose a land to myself. I think I'm going to ship this one and try to fish for something a little stronger. Yes. Yes, this hand is quite strong. I will keep this, getting rid of Astral Cornucopia. Ancient Tomb, Chalice on 1, Manifold Key. Turn 1. Turn 2, play Urza Saga, have 4 mana, Thought-Knot Seer. I like that a lot. Alright. Everflowing Chalice on 1 rather than Chalice of the Void. We're doing some new things as a channel. Different chalices. Same Ancient Tombs. What you got for me? I imagine it's going to be like a Cabal Therapy or something. Deafening Silence. That is a pretty reasonable card. That's not going to do a lot in the context of this game specifically. I'm just going down this Saga route and casting Eldrazi like it's, I don't know, like 2019. What the hell is this? First Strike, Death Touch. Deals combat damage to a player. Choose one. Draw a card. Lose a life. Destroy an enchantment. Remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. God damn it. So my opponent's on a 1-lander. This is kind of a second land. I think I'm eating Swords to Plowshares and just trying to end this game. Like, between Thought-Knot Seer and 2 Urza Saga Construct tokens, I should be in pretty good shape. Although I guess Glissa Sunslayer is a problem if my opponent does. No, I can make things unblockable. It's fine. I mean, it's not exactly fine, but it'll work out. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to ignore the Thought-Knot Seer and just take the Glissa. There's also Natural Order. Very, very unsure about stuff here. Urza Saga Construct tokens are not also going to be quite as big as I would like them to be. Another Deafening Silence. Yeah, that's not what my opponent wants in this scenario. That is what they want. F. Okay. It's fine. I've got a plan. So, creature. Ooh, Mystic Forge is cool. New mana. New creature. I think I get a second Manifold Key here. Is this the point where I play City of Traders? This feels like about the point where I play City of Traders and stop just dealing damage to myself. 3 Ancient Tombs in play is kind of a lot. Alright. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Yeah. And I send in for some damage. So this hits my opponent for 5, and then next turn I do 10 unblockable damage by activating Manifold Keys twice. Yeah. That's good stuff. This game's awesome. Alright, cool. So new Urza Saga just dropped. Alright. My construct cannot be blocked. I think I go ahead and dump a new Urza Saga into play. My other construct can't be blocked. And swing in for 10 unblockable damage. My opponent can stay alive with Swords to Plowshares, but they don't have it. So my opponent is playing Deafening Silence because I am specifically playing Mystic Forge. I could board in Ratchet Bomb to clear that, but a Ratchet Bomb on 1 will blow up Veteran Explorers and also take a lot of my stuff with it, so I think I'm just going to kind of ignore that and resubmit the deck as is. This hand's hot. So play Everflowing Chalice. It's a little soft to collector. Oof. Maybe I need to mulligan this one. Because I can't play this Coretapper on turn 1. My opponent can turn 2 collector. Oof. Deafening Silence messes up this hand. I guess at the end of the day, this is just an Urza Saga hand. An Ancient Tomb, Urza Saga, and a couple random artifacts is actually better than this hand, I think, on the draw. Like, I do the things, like, I have the world's largest Everflowing Chalice. But this one's also going to eat it to Prismatic Ending. Yeah, I think I'm going to ship this one. And has a gajillion mana and no payoff card. I get City, Grim Monolith, key, untap, Surge Node, blah. I'm gonna go to 5 here. I know what I'm looking for. And I'm in trouble. I will go to 4. As a 4-card hand, how is this? Makes a turn 2 Karn. If my opponent doesn't have the Collector Oof. Or it makes a turn 2 Mystic Forge. I am keeping this hand. Walking Ballista goes away. 1 Mox Opal goes away. I think if my opponent actually has Opal, the thing is that, like, I don't get to do 2 things. So maybe no, I'm gonna keep 2 things though. I have a lot of mana in this deck, assuming that I don't get oofed out of this game. Deafening Silence, Green Sun. Okay. This is a Dryad Arbor to accelerate. A second Green Sun is scary. Okay. So, I play a Grim Monolith. That puts me to 3 mana. I tap a Grim Monolith to play a Grim Monolith. And now, I have 4 mana. I think on turn 1 here, I just go for Karn. This is the thing that immediately starts pressuring my opponent's life total. And this is the thing that survives Collector Oof, whereas this is the thing that puts me into a worse position versus a second Green Sun for Collector Oof. Mana situation's gonna be awkward. Okay, my opponent's got a Veteran Explorer. We're going to see the immediate Cabal Therapy. We are, so I will end up losing the Mystic Forge. Probably not on the first guess. My opponent is going for Dismember, which is an out for Collector Oof, so that all makes sense to me. Are you sacrificing immediately? Yes. What is currently on the bottom of my library? What did I put back? Mox Opal, Astral Cornucopia or something like that. Okay, if I want to shuffle. Let's say no to the shuffle. Oh, Island. Is that a pipe dream for casting Atraxa? Or are there actually some blue cards in there? Alright, goodbye, Forge. Okay, that is Collector Oof, so I'm glad that I went this Karn-based route. Okay. So I will play a Surge Node. This is just purely growing this Construct token. I will just immediately take the second Construct token. Like, we're battling. Every Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending sort of card will be very good here. I think if my opponent has a Swords, they take 5, then Swords this, and kill my Karn. So that's what I'm hoping to avoid. Classic. Classic Fill Prediction. Okay, Deafening Silence is not a real card right now. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and lose my critter. And it is this Construct token versus the world here. Like, my opponent is going to lose life quickly, but, like, they have a bunch of removal in their deck. They have that random Glissa. They have Natural Orders. I think I am not favored here. I needed to dodge that Swords to Plowshares. And I did not. That's awkward. I'm going to have to think about that for a second. So I get in for 5. Opponent goes to 4. I basically need another soul land as my draw in order for this to do anything. Over the course of a bunch of turns, this can get me one more construct. I think I don't play this. Or sorry, not one more construct, one more artifact in play. I don't think the artifact count is super relevant here. Yeah, Cabal Therapy is fine. My opponent should just name some 4-drop, probably Karn, Scion of Urza. Yep. Now my opponent has to chump block with Dryad Arbor this turn. If they brick on their draw next turn, they have to chump block with Collector Oof. That's interesting. I bash for my 5. Opponent has to chump. I think I play this working towards more stable Urza Saga mana. I could put an extra charge counter on this right now, actually. Yeah. Put a charge counter on that. And now I have an out to Collector Oof. It's very unrealistic that I will get to 3 other mana off my lands, but it's theoretically possible. That's the brick. That means Collector Oof has to chump block. Unless there's a second Dryad Arbor. Okay. Play Urza Saga. I think I want to use my mana to crack map. Crash on in. Is there another Dryad Arbor? Ah, there's not. Yes. Yeah, I'll pass the turn here. There's a fetch. Okay. Fetch to thin. What do you got? Nickfit can play very big, very dumb things. We've gotten the GGs from the opponent. They said they are 0-8 with it, so they Livy. Ugh. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I was browsing all of the recently completed trades on cardsphere.com. It seems like some people are really interested in Optimus Prime Hero for one reason or another. And Cardsphere recently rolled out their marketplace, which allows you to buy cards from other users directly. So if you're in the market for some cards, but you don't necessarily want to pay a lot of money for them or use a big site, consider checking them out. All right. Looks like we're going to have some hot Coretapper action here, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand. I can go Chalice, Chalice, Mox Opal, Crystal Vein, Coretapper on turn 1, and not have to sacrifice Crystal Vein. Arrakis, into Mother of Runes. Another Chalice. Okay. Going to briefly think about any timelines where I want to just crack Crystal Vein on turn 1. Chalice, Opal. Crack Crystal Vein, 3 mana, Opal, 4 mana, just play Mystic Forge on turn 1. I don't think I need to do that. Nope. No multi-kicker. I want to do this for 0. So we'll then do that one more time. No multi-kicker. And drop a Mox Opal. Chalice on 1 first? Let's Chalice on 1 first. And then 1 mana Mox Opal. Legend Rule it. 2 mana Coretapper. And doing it this way, I have the possibility of making a very large Everflowing Chalice. Oh, Urza Saga based D&T. And just have more Mystic Forge mana. Oh! Alright. Doesn't have any colorless restrictions or anything, does it? No. Okay. So, we're on a clock, because this finds Urza Saga. So that's a thing. Put a charge counter on this Everflowing Chalice. Sacrifice. Put 2 more counters on it. Which one of these do I do first? I think I Mystic Forge first. There's just a very good chance that I hit something like this. Thinking about whether or not I want to sacrifice Crystal Vein. I'm going to say yes. Oh my god, yeah. So we're going to untap this Everflowing Chalice. Go to 4 mana. Play a Manifold Key. Play a Surge Node. I already made a land drop, right? Yep. So let's exile that. Totally worth a life. There's a Karn. So let's go 1 mana. Put a charge counter here. Paying 1. Untap with Manifold Key. 5 mana. Ooh, artifact spells. Understood. So let's play a Karn, Scion of Urza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's an 8/8. I'm just not going to kill my opponent with that next turn. So I think I just plus and try to get new stuff on top of the library. Alright, Astral Cornucopia. Unfortunately not what I am looking for. So I think this is the effective end of my turn. These aren't tapping for mana. This is 2. This costs 3 to do its thing. Alright. Let's set a stop in my own upkeep here. I don't want to draw that Urza Saga. I'm looking to find a Karn the Great Creator. That's my whole plan. My opponent has... Oh, please don't play your own Karn. Trailblazer's Torch. That's fine. So this is the equipment that takes the initiative, just in case you're not familiar with it. So that probably means my opponent has Stoneforge Mystic in their deck. Alright, in upkeep, I'm going to go ahead, exile that Urza Saga. I don't want to draw that. I will go ahead and draw that. That is a Surge Node. We're going to go ahead and go 1 mana, Surge Node onto Everflowing Chalice. 6 mana. I guess I don't have to untap this immediately. Cast a new Surge Node. Cast a Grim Monolith. There's Karn the Great Creator. How do I draw this? Oh, fuck. What's happening is that Painter is stopping me from casting... Or no. Yeah, it's artifact spells and colorless spells. Painter is making it white? Yeah, that's why I couldn't cast that before. Fuck. Yeah, okay. So I can't draw that innately. So I plus this. I need to now find a new Karn. I will cast a Coretapper. Sacrifice this to put more counters on Chalice. Already played a land drop. Let's go to 2 mana. Keep this Mox Opal. Surge Node onto Chalice. Then untap Chalice. Untap Mystic Forge. I guess I don't need to tap that yet. Tap this. Untap Mystic Forge. Exile Ancient Tomb. Another Karn the Great Creator, and I can't cast it. Yeah, at this point I'm dead to Painter combo. Painter stopping me from casting my Planeswalkers off the top of my deck killed me. cast one of these for 2 and call it a turn, but my opponents just got me. Just going to confirm that they don't mess up somehow. Alright, so they take a Scry 2. Just dead to the Grindstone activate. I guess I wasn't live looking for another Karn, right? Because I can't. Oh, they had one in hand anyway. Sure. Alright, they target me. I will concede. Damn. We did something very strong and would have beaten a lot of things. Couldn't quite get there. I want a Pithing Needle in the deck as an Urza Saga tutor target for Grindstone. Probably board out 1 Cornucopia for that. I think I mostly want to be able to wish for other stuff. Thought-Knot Seer is not crazy. My opponent probably has Stoneforge Mystic, which means Kaldra is in there too. I think I would like a couple of Thought-Knot Seers. Maybe like Maze Mind Tome, 1 more Cornucopia. Still leaves me with 5 things that work with the Coretapers. This is not necessarily going to be faster than Painter combo, but I think this hand is too good to mulligan. So we go Ancient Tomb, take 2 to kick Everflowing Chalice, 1 for a Manifold Key, 1 for a Mox Opal. And I have turn 2 Karn and either start digging or start creating constructs, depending on what my opponent does here. Sure. That's going to eat my Chalice, which is not actually a real problem here. I just play Astral Cornucopia for 0 to turn on Metalcraft and get to my 4th mana. Alright. Blast Zone. Do this for 0. Drop Karn. And I think go aggro mode here. Like, this is a 4/4 as of right now. It will attack as at least a 6/6 next turn. What my opponent's got. They've tapped and untapped 2 mana. Alright, it is a Painter. Everything is white. Karn the Great Creator is a real good follow-up. I think I'm going to go ahead and just immediately minus. I'm going to just loop the Karn into play. Shut off combo-based outs. I will go ahead and immediately tutor. Yes. Most of this stuff I can just get next turn. I think I'm just going to get a 0-cost artifact and start attacking for more damage. I am just looking to close this game. And with any luck, I can potentially just kill next turn. Alright, we're chilling. Urza Saga is cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Let's do this Karn and plus first. Revealing a Karn and a Thought-Knot Seer. Hell yeah. I get a new Karn. Is there anything in my tutor board that I desperately need to play this turn? Seems like no. Let's go ahead and drop this. Play Karn. Keep the one with high loyalty. Minus Karn. Tap 1. Play a Voltaic Key. Blessing here is relatively free damage, because this mostly has to be chump blocked. I don't know that I need to do that. It's not going to change the clock at all in all likelihood. Alright, my opponent is chump blocking. That's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and plus this on nothing. Okay, my opponent is fine with that. Yeah, so finding Karn the Great Creator or going early aggro with Karn Scion of Urza are kind of the 2 directions that I want these games to go. Now that I know about Portable Hole, do I want Ratchet Bomb in the main? Again, I think that has a bunch of collateral damage with my own permanents. This doesn't have enough mana. I need 2 starting mana to do all the cool things that this deck is capable of doing. I think I just send this back accordingly. Like, it's very close. But if I don't spike that land, I just have straight up nothing. No playable cards that matter. This has to be a mulligan, unfortunately. We're going deeper. This is a 5-card hand. City, Grim Monolith, Key is really strong. I'll be keeping this. I'll be pitching 1 Mox Opal, and I think I pitch the Blast Zone here. We're going to be hoping to top deck a Planeswalker or Mystic Forge here. Esper Sentinel's not bad. I have to give my opponent a card here, I think. Yeah, I think I give my opponent a card and just vomit all of this stuff into play. Yeah. So, Grim Monolith, you draw your card. This only triggers on the first spell each turn. This is very much not the end of the world. Manifold Key untaps my Monolith. Brings me up to 4 mana to cast a Thought-Knot Seer. Mangara. Okay. Wasteland's a little annoying here. I think I'm just taking swords. And I will drop this Mox Opal now. So, for those of you newer Legacy players, you might not have experienced this. Mangara plus Karakas is a way to repeatedly destroy permanents. You go and Mangara targeting whatever you want to get rid of. You bounce Mangara in response, and the target is still legal, so the ability resolves, meaning that, you know, for 3 mana plus a Karakas activation, you can... Ooh. My opponent has pivoted towards combo here, which is actually very bad for me. I'm not going to aggro faster than what they can do here, and I can't play my Urza Saga realistically, because my opponent will then wasteland it, so I have to get them to wasteland a city instead. So let's untap this, drop a Surge Node, we'll pay the extra, crash in for 4, and I am fully at the mercy of the top of my deck here. My opponent's just got a grindstone-based kill next turn, even if they wasteland me. Brutal Cathar, sure. For the record, I do not think that is better than wastelanding me. Like, the Thought-Knot Seer in play is much less scary than taking me off of extra mana so that I can try to do, like, Mystic Forge strings or whatever. However, it does not matter. I have bricked on my draw. I will concede. GG. I don't want to play against Painter with this deck. Okay, round 3. I believe we're 1-1. I've won the die roll. My hand is incredibly slow. Like, I can just start making Urza Saga constructs on turn 2, but I won't physically have any artifacts in play if I keep this hand. Like, I'm just going to ship this. This hand also does nothing. It's just unfortunately got to go back. We'll go to 5. Yuck. I've got to keep this one. A Maze Mind Tome goes back, and it's either a Monolith or an Urza Saga. It's just mostly, do I want to gamble this game on turn 2 Karn, or do I want to gamble this game on Urza Saga? I'm going to gamble this game on turn 2 Karn. For better or for worse, that's where we're at right now. I think this is a liquid metal coating game. Please don't wasteland me. Okay. I guess please don't Blood Moon me is in the same vein, because Urza Saga isn't a land if Blood Moon happens. Oh, this is probably a mono-black or black-white initiative deck list. Yeah, that is a Ravenloft Adventurer. Sure. Cool. I think this is an Urza Saga turn. I will go Monolith, into Monolith, into Karn. I think this is just Karn plus. Make sure Chrome Mox never gives my opponent anything. This means that Karn lives for 1 turn, which is kind of a big deal. Forge doesn't kill Karn anymore. And then I have kind of a neat line of untap Grim Monolith, animate Grim Monolith, take the initiative. And then my opponent has to choose next turn between taking the initiative and killing Karn. So I'm not 100% sure that I'll take the animate Grim Monolith line, but it's available to me. That is a Douthie Voidwalker. Okay. Karn gets punched. That second creature's very good. This Manifold Key is very good too. Douthie Voidwalker has kind of ruined some of my plans. Me taking the initiative isn't even that good. It just denies my opponent. Trigger. 5/6 is so big. I think I might need to just focus on making the constructs and trying to win the game. I'm thinking about animating on Manifold Key so that I can chump block this. I don't have Shadow Spear, which is a problem. I think I need this, though. Go ahead and plus on nothing and call it a turn. Not having Shadow Spear in the 75 might cost me this game. 8/5 to trap. Take another 5 this turn and lose Karn. I guess my opponent doesn't know that I don't have Shadow Spear. That, I guess, works to my benefit. I think my opponent forgot that this has Shadow. Because both of... Oh, no, the text box is just wrong. Yeah, the text box says Medea Magicus Karn the Great Creator is being attacked by Douthie Voidwalker and Ravenloft Adventure, and that's just incorrect. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you, text box. Very cool. Alright. So that combat went like I thought it would. And I've got a few ways that I can win from here. The first is just murdering my opponent before they can murder me, which can technically happen. Go ahead and make a construct. I need a Mox Opal here. Oh wait, is a key is just better, right? Yeah, a key is just better. Alright. Untap a Monolith. 3 mana. Untap a Monolith. Billion D mana. Karn minus. I now have 3 7/7s. This in theory puts my opponent dead before I am dead. I'll take the initiative. I don't have a basic land. So I think I've salvaged this one. In no capacity guaranteed. Oh, I forgot about that part. What do you get? Karn the Great Creator. Do you randomly have an ensnaring bridge in your sideboard? Engineered explosives? Oh, what the fuck? Alright. Alright, I'll still have the initiative. I get a scry 2 out of this, but... Okay. Well, that wasn't on my bingo board. So let's scry. I don't really know what I'm looking for. It's none of that. Bottom both of those, gain a life. Yeah, that is not gonna do it. It takes a couple turns, but I'm just not going to beat this plus this and Throne of the Dead 3. Alright, was not expecting that. Like, shutting off my artifacts was fine. I had 21 power in play, but EE was brutal. So I can Thought-Knots here to just have something else that can take the initiative. Medium. Like, do I want to stay leaned into my fast mana? Or do I want to trim some fast mana to just have more bodies? I think my opponent's deck is probably fragile enough that Thought-Knot Seer is good. Let's maybe... Maze Mind Tome is slow. Like, it's great value, but it's slow. I think I'm going to cut 2 of those in the Astral Cornucopia. Actually, Walking Ballista is probably expendable. Keep an extra one of these to just turn on Mox Opal and do Coretapper based lines easier. Ancient Tome, Surge Node, Expedition Map, turn to Ancient Tomb for another land. I think this is too slow. I'm gonna ship this. This is a turn to Karn the Great Creator, which isn't my ideal, but is probably what's happening here. It pivots into Urza Saga after that. Probably just keep the extra lands and get rid of the Astral. Get rid of Blast Zone. Get rid of Blast Zone. Alright, my opponent has started the game with a Leyline of the Void in play. Which is for the Helm of Obedience combo, presumably. I'm going to start by playing a Grim Monolith. And I think I leave Astral Cornucopia in hand. If my opponent does something like Dark Ritual, Hymn to Turok, I'd like a greater chance at keeping the Karn. Specifically because, like, Helm of Obedience is the fastest way that I lose this game. Alright, my opponent's got a tapped land for turn. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 current mana. I probably just have to play Karn. I think I play Inventor's Fair over Urza Saga, though, like with Mystic Forge here. Let's do this. 4 mana for Karn. Immediately minus Karn. Yes. Pick up a Liquid Metal Coating. 2 mana to cast that. And then we just do this in our opponent's upkeep to deny them a mana for a turn. And then we will destroy all their lands while doing Mystic Forge nonsense. I think now that they have actively shown me Helm combo, I'm going to board in a Pithing Needle so that I have a tutor target that stops Helm of Obedience. My hand is absolutely a keep, as Coretapper has just the ability to create a Soul Ring on turn 1. Got turn 2 Karn and a backup Karn. An initiative creature on turn 1 would be awkward. No starting Leyline this time. Thoughtseize is fine. Taking my Coretapper slows me down a bit. And maybe pivots me into an Urza Saga-based hand. We'll see. Okay, and they did take the Coretapper. To decide on turn 1 whether or not I'm playing a Karn game or an Urza Saga game. Playing a Karn game requires me to sack Crystal Vein next turn. I don't know that I'm game for that. I think this is an Urza Saga game. I don't really want it to be, but I think that's what's going to make sense here. Again, I'm going to keep Astral Cornucopia in hand just in case my opponent is playing him to Turok. I need to keep Ancient Tomb. Alright, we're getting some movement from my opponent. Run a Ravenloft Adventurer under there. Alright, my opponent presumably has an opposition agent. I'm going to go ahead and play an Astral Cornucopia so that my constructs are larger, and then I'll be passing the turn. There's the opposition agent. That was expected. Is it coming in? I imagine no. And I'll go ahead and make some constructs. Go ahead and make some more constructs. They're up to 3/3s now. My opponent gets to do the search. They can Pithing Needle my Karn the Great Creators, unfortunately. Alright. Sorry, I have to get my mindset back into the game. My opponent took a very long time there. So I need to do this, bash in for the 4 points of damage, bring my opponent to 11. Alright, my opponent casts a Mox Opal from my deck off Karn. From Mox no imprint, bring them to 4 mana. Okay, there is a Karn the Great Creator, a tutor, finding an ensnaring bridge. I'm going to win this game via timeout in all likelihood. My attacks this turn are kind of interesting. I think I just send both constructs at Karn. I think I also play out Surge Node first. Just so nonsense can't happen. Permanently blow that up. Play Surge Node. This always kills Karn. This always leaves my Karn alive. And be fine. I believe I just kill next turn by minusing for Walking Ballista or minusing for Mycosynth Lattice. Alright, we've gotten the GGs from the opponent. Alright, and we win that one. Ancient Tomb. Chalice on 1, play Voltaic Key, play Mox Opal, turn 2 Mystic Forge. Keep. I'm going to be soft to a discard spell or a counter spell, but hopefully the top of the deck delivers or my opponent doesn't have it. Alright, here we go. Ancient Tomb. Followed by this kind of Chalice on 1. Followed by Voltaic Key, and I do think I just throw out the Mox Opal as well. There's Thalia effects and wheels and stuff in the format. I don't think I gain a lot by waiting. Some sort of Bant, maybe Natural Order, Uro-y sort of deck list. Ow! Hello! I think this is a City of Traders. Attempt Mystic Forge number 1. There is the first counterspell. That's fine. I guess I should talk about this. So the reason that I played out City of Traders is that if Mystic Forge resolves, I have extra mana available to do things like untap the Mystic Forge and cast stuff. Okay, we're going to be under the gun here, rather than just playing out Crystal Vein and then having more persistent mana later. Okay, that's going to be a fast clock. That is a Cauldron that just attacks for 7. Okay, let's start here. Surge Node. Move a counter to Chalice. 2 mana. I need to untap Chalice yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need to untap that yet. Oh, that's the reason why I wasn't. Let's attempt Mystic Forge number 2. Awkward. Untap Chalice. There's an extra floating. Coretapper. Surge Node. On a 2-turn clock anyway, I don't want this Inventor's Fair. I'd like to find like a Mox Opal or something here. Alright. So what's my plan? At a macro level, I guess my plan involves Karn Ensnaring Bridge. That's the unfair thing that I can do that stops Kaldra. Is coming now. Will be a menace. Just a 2-turn clock after the Ancient Tomb damage. It's always yield to those. And Trample is a hell of a drug here. In my upkeep, I'm going to get rid of this Urza Saga. It's just not going to do me any favors. Alright, so we got to try to have a big turn here. So put a counter on Chalice. Put 2 more counters on Chalice. Oh fuck, Noble Hierarch is going to beat Ensnaring Bridge. Alright, we have to have a really big turn. I'm going all in here. I'm going to go ahead and sack this. Let's Surge Node to here. Surge Node to here. This is 7 mana. Cast Maze Mind Tone. Is something that can draw a card and kind of alter the top card of my library, which will matter. Grab a new key. This is another shuffle. That's not bad. Karn, Scion of Urza. I am thinking about whether or not I have the mana to use that. I think the answer is yes. I'll go ahead and do my first untap here. 10 mana in pool. Do a Karn. I have played a land. I have played a land. Let's just scry that away. Bottom that. Grim Monolith. Karn the Great Creator. That's what I'm looking for. 7 mana for Karn. Alright. Karn minus. Okay. Which one of these things do I want to do? Do I have enough mana to just kill my opponent with a Walking Ballista? Let's get a Walking Ballista. Bet I can get that much mana. Probably shouldn't have technically activated this yet. We're playing a little loosey-goosey here. I will go ahead and cast this key. He is worth 6. Do a shuffle. Of like an Urza Saga or something. There's a new Mystic Forge. Do an untap on this. 7. New Mystic Forge. Junk that. Maze Mind Tome. Pry that away. A new Karn, Scion of Urza. Oh, I haven't played a land drop. Cool. Thought I did. Alright, there's Urza Saga. Manifold Key. Untap a Chalice. 8 total mana here. Minus this for a construct. 7, 8, 9, 10 total mana. I think it is time to just go ahead and pump this. A Walking Ballista for X is 5. Ping a Hierarch. Ping a Stoneforge. Ping a Stoneforge. Ping this. Call it a turn. I guess I lose to Prismatic Ending. Probably cleaner ways to play that. Like I should have just let the Karn sit there. But this way I've set myself up for a clean Ensnaring Bridge win next turn, and I have multiple ways to make constructs to chump block Kaldra for a little while. Okay. 4 looks at a Prismatic Ending to kill me. That's a shuffle, that's a good sign. Alright, I'm being attacked. I will chump block. So when this deals combat damage, I exile my creature. But I think I'm probably good now. Alright. I can make a very large number of tokens. Let's scry that away. Maybe I don't have to. Let's just go ahead and minus this. 7 mana for a new one. Second Karn's very good. Keep this one. Minus this. Minus Karn. Yes, we're just going to go ahead and find Mycosynth Lattice. Untap one of these. 7 mana. Now my opponent doesn't get any more spells for the rest of the game. Okay, and that's good enough for the concession. Whew. Yeah, walking through the next steps here, then I can just go and get like an ensnaring bridge. My opponent can never attack. Then I'll just kill them with walking ballista pretty easily. Thought Not Seer seems okay versus my opponent. It's just a way to stop Cauldra from happening. I don't know that I want to board in Pithing Needle. It's probably okay, but slow. I think I'm just going a little bit more threat dense so that when a counterspell happens, it's less bad. Probably boarding out some number of these. When I do this, it makes the Coretapers worse, but like Everflowing Chalice is the much more reasonable card anyway. These games are going long enough that Mazemind Tome is reasonable. Boarding like this, I'm going to be slightly more inclined to keep a mana-heavy hand. Alright, I said I wanted to keep a mana-heavy hand. How's this second one? The mana short of doing cool things. I don't have that many lands. I think forces me into the position where I have to mulligan. I'm not happy about going to 4 on the draw. Wow. 1, 2. I'm not happy with this. I'm going to keep it. I'm probably going to concede this game incredibly quickly. I'm gonna get rid of Karn. In my ideal world, I draw Grim Monolith and just do a crazy thing on turn 1. Okay, my opponent's fetching. I assume we're seeing a Mana Dork. We're seeing a Mana Dork. Come on, Monolith. F. I'm going to just floop some keys into play in hopes of doing something broken if I draw like a Monolith. But like I'm on 4 on the draw versus a blue-white X deck where they can just get rid of my... Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. All right, after missing that draw, I'm about to be wastelanded on 0 mana sources on a mull to 4. Yep. We'll try again. There's Coretapper and Surge Node, nothing that I actually want to put artifacts on. If I play turn 1 Coretapper and Mox Opal, on turn 2, I'm 1 mana short of Mystic Forge. I have had some really bad mulligans recently, and I don't expect to just instantly win this game. I'm going to go ahead and just keep this mana-heavy hand. I've boarded up 3 more threats than normal. I'm going to keep this and see where this goes. Playing, I think, Blast Zone on turn 1. Alright, here we go. Blast Zone, Surge Node. I don't think I'm going to expose my Mox Opal to a removal spell immediately. See what my opponent's got. Mana Dork. The Karn, the Great Creator. My land drop this turn is kind of weird. I think I'm just playing Urza Saga as a hedge against getting Elector oofed. This double disappearing land problem is a big deal with this hand because I just want to cast multiple large spells and it's awkward for me either way that I do it here. Now have Metalcraft available. Daze is fine, I guess. I mean, I'm very happy that Daze is not being used on one of these 2 cards. My opponent's got a big play like a Stoneforge or a naturally drawn Collector Oof here. There's a Swords. I will go ahead and sacrifice this. Put some charge counters on Surge Node. It is unlikely to be relevant, but maybe I should have just taken the 1 life. So, got choices. I can play a Dazeable 4-drop, or I can just take my Urza Saga value. I guess there's one more option available to me. I think it's the one I'm taking. It's kind of fucked up, but makes me wish that I had just taken the 1 life for Coretapper. Wasn't planning on doing this, but my opponent played that second Noble Hierarch, so we're going to trade Surge Node and Blast Zone for 2 Noble Hierarchs. Takes my opponent off of white. And I can try to resolve a 4-drop next turn. Now, if my opponent Brainstorm locks themselves here, they're in trouble. Okay, they did not Brainstorm lock themselves. Third Noble Hierarch. That's incredibly good for them. They've instantly recovered from that mana setback. I don't care about this construct, I don't think. This choice is quite tough. I think I'm going with an Opal. Not mana now, but it's mana in the not too distant future. I think this is Mystic Forge. I would love to just rattle off a couple of cards. Yes. I don't want that. I have enough big, dumb, fat stuff in my hand already. Nice. Let's go 1 mana, cast that. Okay. Metalcraft's on. The downside of doing Mystic Forge is that if my opponent just 3 mana Green Suns for oof, it's the worst of my plays. No shuffle. Or just finally oof off the Ponder. Yeah, that was the reason to play Karn, Scion of Urza last turn. So I can still cast these things, but very much hurting in the mana department now. I'm totally fine if my opponent doesn't have a counterspell and I find a soul land next turn, but my opponent now gets to cantrip or ways to counter my next critical card. And I think once something like that happens, I'm just done. The fairy bounces Mystic Forge, and I think that's GG. Like, I take 3 here. I know my next draw is dead. I'll take 1 more draw step, but I think if I miss on a soul land on that draw step, I am probably just in the position where I can't win. Because like the fairy will be in minus territory again soon. Okay. With Kaldra coming here, I'm comfortable just conceding and moving on to the next round. GG's. Okay. I'm gonna be keeping my hand here. We're probably going to do some absolutely crazy mana stuff here. I haven't done my math yet, but we have an Astral Cornucopia with Surge Node and Coretapper, so I'm gonna do some gross stuff. Volcanic Island, presumably playing against Delver here. And a Bauble to follow it up. There's a bunch of versions of Delver floating around right now, so we're not going to know exactly what my opponent is doing here for a couple of turns. Like, there's still blue-red, there's Rug floating around, there's Jeskai, there's Predict versions, there's Reckless Impulse versions. Monolith is cool. 2 mana. I think I try to sneak a Coretapper in here. This doesn't look that scary. Nice. And then I do this. And all of a sudden, this card has increased in value by a lot. Maybe forcing a Daze on this card. Okay. Now, I can sack immediately to turn this into a Soul Ring. And like play Surge Node and activate here. Which I think I am going to do, rather than trying to get more value out of the Coretapper. Like, getting a Soul Ring is plenty fine by me. Now let's go ahead and Surge Node and move a counter to the Cornucopia. We now have a Black Lotus that doesn't go away. Yes, that's a Gilded Lotus. We usually play 5 mana for those, and I paid 0. I'm going to do some gross things next turn. Opponent Surveils and 3rd Bauble. Alright, there's the fetch to clear the Brainstorm. Means I'm not getting Wastelanded. Okay, we are playing against Rug. There's a Delver. And I'm only taking 1 this turn. Surveil didn't... Like, Surveil hitting an artifact is actually kind of awkward for my opponent there. Play Saga. Surge Node is up to 4 mana. I have 6 total mana for this turn. I think I just start by casting a Karn. Karn resolves. Minus Karn. Yes. Ensnaring Bridge is my long-term plan to win here. Ratchet Bomb's also very strong. I think I'm going to grab Ensnaring Bridge. Play a Grim Monolith. Gives my opponent a Daze opportunity. But more importantly, just gets that card out of my hand. That's my turn. So one of these two needs to become a 3/3 to take out this Karn. Alright, Ponder is the revealed card. That will make both of my opponent's things 3/3s. What are you doing? I hate how this chat doesn't work properly. Yeah, see, that would have been the last card type in graveyard for Dragon Rage Channeler, so my opponent missed 2 points of damage this turn by not playing a pre-combat Ponder. That's a no shuffle. Okay, I'm super happy to hit a land drop here, actually. I can do this. Allows me to Surge Node here for free. I think I start here and see if this does resolve. Okay, it does not. Kind of hoping that would hit. That would be hit by a Force of Negation, so I could get it back with Karn. Unfortunate. What's my second best sideboard option here? Ratchet Bomb. I have 5 mana this turn. Ratchet Bomb's slow here. My plan become kill my opponent with Urza Saga? I think my plan does become kill with Urza Saga. So I'm going to cast an Astral Cornucopia for X is 1 to increase my artifact count. And I do have to sorcery speed make this token to play towards this line. This is a 4/4 and is now out of range of Lightning Bolt, which is why I took the risk of casting this, which would have been bad against a Daze or another counterspell. Take 6 in the air. Oh, this line isn't going to work because I took 2 off of Ancient Tomb, so I actually decreased the clock by 1. I was thinking I was at 8. F, this isn't going to work. Oh, and Tarmogoyf. Or no, I go back to 7. No, past fill is okay here. Alright. So, Surge Node onto an Astral Cornucopia. Tap Astral Cornucopia. Make a critter. Do a search. Get a Manifold Key. Cast Surge Node. Surge Node onto Cornucopia. Untap Cornucopia. 8 mana. Cast Karn. 5 current mana available. Because I don't want to tap this Ancient Tomb. Minus Karn. Yes. Now I can pick up Ratchet Bomb. 2 mana Ratchet Bomb. Go to combat. Attack in for 8. Die to my opponent's 1/of Brazen Borrower. That's my plan. Okay. That is lethal in the air then. On the way out, let's blow up a Ratchet Bomb, shall we? No! It charged! I wanted to blow up everything. Damn it. My opponent missing that 2 damage could have cost them the game, though, from not playing that Ponder pre-combat. I don't really imagine that I'm sideboarding here. There is not enough graveyard hate versus my opponent. I want Karns to have access to Ensnaring Bridge consistently. I don't have removal spells outside of, like, Ratchet Bomb. Pithing Needle for Wasteland's not actually crazy. Yeah, let's make that change. Alright, what am I looking at here? This is a slow hand. It's a turn 2 monolith hand. The Coretapper doesn't do anything. I have 2 good things to cast, but really only the ability to do one of them. I'm going to go ahead and ship this. This is the disappearing land problem. If I keep this hand, I'm going essentially all in on an Urza Saga. I'm not a big fan of, but don't know that it makes sense to mulligan here either. Alright. Saga, drop key, and pass. My hand is very bad versus Wasteland. Okay, not Wasteland. That's a great start. I will need to dodge Meltdown the entire game. Alright, Bobble's fine. Now my opponent gets some information. And Delver. They get their card. Coretapper not doing a lot here. We're just all in on Urza Saga. My first couple of constructs are going to be lightning boltable, though, which is not great for me. Okay, Delver doesn't flip. That's great. Yep, that's atrocious for me. Uh-huh. Oh, they're going for the city. That's fine. That gives me extra main phase mana on my next turn, which is going to matter, and maybe a costly mistake. I just imagine my pick here is just Mox Opal. Well, there is getting an or no, I can't get an Everflowing Chalice. It has to be exactly 0. Or no, Everflowing Chalice is 0. It's not worded as XX. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for a Chalice here. That's a little weird. Is this a city turn? I think this is a city turn. A little cleaner if things work. Okay, cool. I think I'm going here. Play Surge Node. 2 mana. One of it puts a counter on Everflowing Chalice. Already made my land drop. Guess I'll untap this anyway. Crash in for 4. Hope opponent never draws Meltdown. They're at 15. If I dodge Meltdown, there is an incredibly high chance that I win this game. They have just revealed Dragon Rage Channeler to me. I guess I popped that out so I remember that. God damn it. They've just typed, I'm very sorry for what I'm about to do, so they just have the fucking Meltdown. Yep. I mean, I said from the start of the hand, right, that like that was what was going to beat me. So now I need to dodge Daze in an attempt to rebuild. Okay. I don't need that card right now. I am going to go ahead and just immediately exile that. Crystal Vein will also probably get exiled in my upkeep. Spell Pierce. Strange Wizard Art. That's brutal. Crystal Vein now probably doesn't get exiled anymore. Tarmogoyf is big. I'll go to 13 here. We'll draw Crystal Vein. Cast that for 0. This is not doing me any good. I'm going to go ahead and pay a life to get rid of that. It's back. I think we're on Hail Mary plays at this point. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice this, do this, and hope that the next card is something that I can put these counters on. I'm just dead in 2 turns, so I just need the like best possible series of runners here. I could technically block with Coretapper, but I just don't think I can win the game unless I spike something that Coretapper can put artifacts on, or charge counters on. Do I draw a Surge Node? I don't think so. Or, I mean, I think so. I don't think I can pay the life for that one. Let's pay the life, exile that. That is a Karn. That is not going to do it. I will throw in the towel there. GG's. That was a bit of a brutal league here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. When this works, it does some impressive stuff. Like a couple of times we had either an Everflowing Chalice or an Astral Cornucopia tapping for 5 or 6 mana, and that was super impressive. But ultimately, I don't think this deck is stronger or consistent than other decks that sort of occupy the same niche. And although this is a niche deck list, it still gets hit by the Meltdowns, the Collector Oofs, the Serenities, all that sort of stuff. And I think that leaves it in a bad spot. So I think this is a worse Mystic Forge deck than something like the Basalt Monolith, Echo of Eons deck, Mesmeric Orb, that's in there too. And I think this is a worse colorless deck than like some of the more aggressive variants that just try to get you dead faster. Ultimately, the low land count coupled with the fact that 2 of these lands disappear for one reason or another, I think left us in an awkward spot where we were tripping over our own mana. And I think you need big dumb things at a high mana cost in order to make this general deck idea function. But that means like once you get wastelanded or once you lose some lands or your initial mana thing doesn't work out the way you are, it leaves you kind of in a bad spot. So ultimately, I don't really think this is a deck idea worth exploring. And when you're playing something that works in magical Christmas land where everything goes well, like, yeah, you do get to do the thing. But in the times where that doesn't happen, you have like these 8 cards, which don't really do much if they're in your initial opening hand. And then your Coretapers and your Surge Nodes are very awkward if you don't have one of those. And a lot of times, this is one of the weaker cards in the deck, so you end up cutting them for whatever interaction you want to bring in for the post-sideboard games, making it more likely that this stuff actually does their thing. So ultimately, I feel like the deck itself is innately awkward enough that it's not worth jumping through all the hoops you're jumping through. Okay, I know how to say this eloquently now. The payoff for playing this isn't high enough that it's worth jumping through those hoops and playing all of these cards that are awkward. I think if I were to run this back again, which I wouldn't want to do, but if I were going to try this again, say you saw this and you want to try to make this work, I would recommend cutting the main deck Walking Ballistas and Maze Mine Tomes, probably for just straight up 3 more mana sources. Maybe a basic Wastes is not a bad idea, just so you can find something if you do end up taking the initiative, or like a Path to Exile comes up. Like, I think there were 2 or 3 times throughout the league that we would have gotten a basic land if we had access to one. Maybe like 1 basic Wastes and 2 other utility lands of some kind. I don't know that you have to play Inventor's Fair. Like, I had this in play. The incidental life gain, I think, mattered in 1 game, but you're just so slow to activate this unless you've already like popped off with an Everflowing Chalice with a whole bunch of counters. And if that has already happened, like, you probably found some other way to win the game. Yeah, but I would be interested in playing a few more mana sources. I also would be interested in having the Shadow Spear. If that card was in my deck, I think I had a much better chance versus Delver. It's an incredibly awkward draw on its own, but sometimes you need a few turns to just like gear up and do the whole Urza Saga thing. And so I think having access to that is reasonable. I also think you could probably rebuild this without Karn, Scion of Urza, or sorry, without Karn the Great Creator. Just like have an actual sideboard and just play some other good cards that can kill your opponent. Like, maybe you can get some more low cost things in here, some Nettle Cysts or something like that, or just cut Karn the Great Creator to instead play Lodestone Golem, be slightly more aggressive. That's kind of where my head's at. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. If you have any thoughts about the deck list, feel free to throw them in the comments, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!